back to Caribbean Cowboys Treasures and Adventures. This is your co-host Chad, aka Sharkbait, also known as Gatorbait. So today our items of the week are really exciting. I actually have a whole collection of them, and what we're going to be talking about is silver, how to tell if it's real or if it's fake or if it's plated, or if it's not, what is it made out of? So there's a couple of different tests that we can do, and I have some items that I took from my personal collection, and we're going to get into the details of them. It's going to be really exciting for all of you silver buffs. I personally love silver. I actually like silver more than gold. Sometimes that might be hard to believe, but I just like I like the look of it. I like the patina that it has over time, and I like the fact that it has multiple purposes. You know, unlike gold, silver has a lot of different functions in society and has for thousands of years. But most of all, I just like the look of it. It has kind of like this romantic kind of feel to it. I don't know, when I look at objects that are made of silver or 999 silver or sterling silver, I just get kind of this feeling of, I don't know, not even nostalgia because I'm not old enough, but you know, of what a period of time, hundreds if not 1,000 years ago, was like for some of these pieces. So it's really exciting. We're going to take a look and let's get into it. Okay, so now that I've showed you all of the really cool items, we're going to see if they're made of silver or not. I wanted to show you one of the methods that we're going to use, and this is one of the foolproof methods, and that is the acid test, if you've ever heard of that. Now this is some acids that you can buy on Amazon pretty cheap. You have a pure test rock that you can scratch rock, test stone that you can use. It says up to 1,000 times. Probably if you scratch in different areas, then you can probably get a few thousand scratches out of this. And it comes with two. The one I got on Amazon actually comes with two of these. And here is what it looks like. It's just a test stone. So it allows you to scrape items with doing minimal damage, but also getting enough of the metal to find out, not if just the top layer is made of silver, but if the bottom or the underneath layers are also silver. Because you have silver plated, which is silver on top and usually copper or nickel or some other metal underneath, not precious metal. So you have an acid neutralizer here. I always put this on the test stone first, just to clean it off of any other materials. If you're testing gold or something comes up as copper, you don't want it to dilute your test of your item. And then you have your silver acid, and I'm going to go into some more detail about how you use that. And then the trick here, honestly, is this is what I call, the key, the secret. Now this says 18, if you can look here, it says testing for 18 karat, like 18 karat gold. But if you're not able to find out what the color is, if your eyes are not as so good, or if you're just in the middle and you're not sure, if this is a brown or a red, then this 18 karat will actually tell you if it turns blue, it has like these little blue cottony ball look to it, whether it is silver. So I like to use this one, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to use both. We're going to use the 18 karat and we are going to use the silver acid. Now with the silver acid, you got to be really careful when you look at the colors here because they are on the color spectrum. And so with the silver, if you get a bright red color, bright red, I mean like the top of this cap here, bright red, then that means it's 0.99 silver. So you're talking almost 100%, almost pure silver. If it's more of a darker red, it could be 0.925, which is 92.5% silver. And that is more of a darker red. Now, if you get it to a point of where it's brownish, that could be 800 silver. So a lot of European silver in the 1800s and earlier, they used 80% silver. Lately, over the past 100 or so years, it's usually sterling when they make silver objects. If they're not pure, they're going to be 92.5 or 0.925% silver. And then finally, if it turns green, it could be 0.500 or 50% silver. So you're looking for a bright red, a dark red, a brown, or a green. Depending upon that color, it will tell you how much silver is in that object. But I like to use the go-to 18 karat gold test and it will turn blue. That will mean it's silver, even though this does say 18 karat gold on it. And this test kit, by the way, does come with gold acid test. Besides 18 karat, you can get 14 karat and 10 karat in that package. I believe there's 22 karat as well. And what they may or may not be, and then we're going to look to see if they're made of silver or how much silver is in them. So this is the first piece. I call this one of my two mystery items today. Got this probably, I don't know, 5-6 years ago from a lady, and she said she picked him up in an estate, but she had no idea what this was. And I've honestly been trying to do a lot of research to figure out what it was myself. I'm thinking it could have been a candle holder, a very crude candle holder, possibly, who knows, Roman period, maybe medieval, but it's very crude in nature. You have these ridges on it, and definitely has a look of silver. So we're going to see if it's real or if it's not and what it's made out of. Second item today is a small trinket box with this beautiful filigree on the top. It's just very ornate design. And it's just a little tiny trinket box here that somebody might have put some jewelry in or some knickknacks. And here's the inside of that box. Obviously has a flat bottom, has a little bit of a look of silver, but we will see. Third item is another trinket box, a little bit bigger than this one. For comparison size, I'll put my fingers here. Let's see how big they are. This one has a really kind of nice blue top to it. I'm going to open it up and show you the inside. Now, these trinket boxes have no markings, which is can possibly be a sign that they are not silver, but not necessarily, because not all items are marked with something saying they're silver. And to that note, a lot of items that do say sterling on them or are marked 0.925, meaning 92.5% silver, are fakes. So it can't always go by the markings. And we also, for a fourth item, have this really cool baby rattle. And if you look closer, there's a little area here where you could have engraved the baby's name. There's nothing engraved on it, and it's kind of been beaten up a little bit. Who knows how many babies had this rattle, but this came into my possession actually at a yard sale. Kind of a neat little baby rattle. All right, fifth item. This also has an area where it could have been engraved or personalized right here on the front in between all of this kind of floral design. And if you unscrew the top, leads me to believe that this was kind of a perfume or a cologne bottle. Just take this and dab it on your neck. Not a modern version, but very neat. Could have been like, yeah, mid-1900s. We're going to find out whether this is silver or not. Next item, pirate coin. I do love pirates, so I had to have this in my possession. You see on the front here, it's got the skull. It reminds me a little bit of Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, The Curse of the Black Pearl, the cursed treasure of Cortez. And on the back, you have this kind of really neat pirate here holding a sword. Looks like he's somewhere in the Bahamas with an open treasure chest. And real thick here. We're going to see if this is a real silver cursed coin. Next item up is a twisted spoon. Actually, these two items I kind of put together here. So we have two. These are older spoons. I do know these are from the 1800s. And if you look on the top part of this spoon, I know it's hard to focus, but it has a kind of an area here again where it could have been engraved. It is not personalized. In the back here, there's a date. It says 13/8/1901, I believe. And so I'm pretty sure these are German in nature. So they would have, the European style would have had the day, the month, and then the year, not the month, the day, and the year like we do in America. So this date right here looks like it was for somebody who was born on or has some significance here to the 13th day of 8, which is August 1901. So August 13th. Here we have another spoon right here. We're going to see if this one's silver. Obviously, it has some indentations here. And remember, silver was pretty, pure silver is pretty malleable and soft. So, it's easy to make these indentations if it is pure silver or close to it without any metals to harden it, like nickel, zinc, or copper. And this one is pretty neat because if I can get a focus here, you can see it actually has some marks. And finally, this is the most unknown piece that I know of in today's session of sterling items, take a look at this. Now the bottom part I know is not silver, but you can see how crudely made it was, how it was kind of almost, made by a blacksmith. It's not perfectly oval. The design is very ornate. It has some weight to it. And I personally believe this was the end or the butt of a flintlock pistol, or a pistol of that time period. So it would be on the bottom part of a gun. My other thought is it could have been part of a piece of furniture, maybe a wealthy individual's cabinet or bureau or something of that nature. But we are not going to positively identify what it is. We're just going to see if it's made of silver.
Okay, so here we are with our unidentified object that could possibly be silver. Again, we're not sure exactly what it is, but it kind of has the patina and the look of old silver to it. We have our black testing stone, or our black scratch stone. Paper towels. Obviously, you guys can see that I'm wearing gloves. I want to protect my hands from the testing solutions that we're using, because they do have acid in them. Specifically nitric acid for the silver testing solution, and nitric acid and muriatic acid, also known as hydrochloric acid, that's a combination in the gold testing solution. Now what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to use my acid neutralizer so that I can clean up any other scratch marks, any other remaining acid on my testing stone here. So I'm going to clean that off. So I'm starting from scratch here, so to speak. And I have my two solutions, and as I mentioned earlier, I have my silver testing solution, which obviously we're going to use for the silver, but I also like to use as a backup and a confirmation the 18 karat solution, because what happens with silver when it reacts with the 18 karat solution is you'll actually see these blue cotton ball kind of color, which means that it does have silver content in it, and a pretty high content silver, the more blue cottony ball images that you see on this touchstone, on the testing stone. So let's start first with our silver testing solution. So we're going to try to get a nice scratch here. I'm going to use a spot that's not as conspicuous. And again, we really want to make sure that we get down past the first layer, because a lot of objects, gold and silver, are just layered with that top layer of the precious metal, and below it is copper, zinc, nickel, or some other non-precious metal. So you want to make sure that you get real down, you want to get down past that first layer. So with the silver testing solution that we're going to use next, it's important to take a look at a chart, or just to know the colors that will reflect the purity of silver. If it's fine silver, it will show up bright red, and that's about 0.999% silver, about 99% silver. 0.925 silver, otherwise known as sterling silver, will sometimes show as a dark red. 800 silver, being 80% silver, will be about a brownish color, and if it's about 50% silver, it'll show up green. Anything else, there's no silver in it. So let's see what we got here with the silver testing solution. And it's looking like it's kind of a reddish color. I'm going to wipe this off, and we're going to start over with the 18 karat solution. So let's do another scratch test here. I think we're getting a lot there. Now, let's see if we can find those blue cotton balls. And there they are. Got this blue, light bluish color. I'll bring it closer to the camera so everybody can see it. See how it has that blue tint to it? That means that there is silver in this object. And again, it was kind of hard for me to tell whether it was bright red or dark red from the silver testing solution. So I'm going to guess this is somewhere between sterling silver and pure silver. Here's where I scratched it, and you can see underneath all of this oxidation, it does have that silver look to it.
Okay, up next is our third item, which is a very cute, very neat, unique filigree trinket box. And I believe this is from the late 1800s based on the design. And you can see here this beautiful, intricate filigree. Now, from the looks of it, you could say it might be silver, might not. There is no marking on it, which leads me to believe that it's not sterling silver. It might not have any silver at all, but let's just test it and find out. It's still a pretty neat trinket box. So I'm going to take the bottom part here, which seems like the thickest. I don't want to go from the top. And we're going to do our scratch test, and then we're going to see what it comes up with. Okay, so I have a nice 1-inch thick scratch mark on our test stone. I'm going to first take a little bit of our silver acid and see if we get a bright red, a dark red, a green, or maybe nothing. Interesting. It looks like we have kind of a darker red here. I'm going to let this one sit for just a couple more seconds to see if it changes color or disappears entirely. It's kind of hard from this angle. I do have some lights directly above the test stone. Let me just dab it with a napkin. And it looks pretty much like it's nothing. I don't think there's any mark on there. But let's try the 18 karat and see if it turns blue. Alright, so just to be sure, I'm going to take my 18 karat gold acid right here, and we're going to see if this will make show some blue. And it just erased it completely. So unfortunately, our trinket box is not silver. It could be made of tin, would be my next best guess, which again is kind of copper with some zinc or copper with magnesium or some other type of metal. But pretty neat nonetheless.
Okay, everyone. Now the next object that we're going to test and do a little background first before we start pouring acid on it is this silver spoon that I picked up at a yard sale a few years ago. And if we look closely at this spoon, on the very back it's engraved right here. It says 3/10/15. So I'm assuming that's March 10th, 1915 is when this spoon was made. And there's another mark right here which has the initials H.H. There's a maker's mark. I believe it's a silversmith mark of kind of like an Aladdin's lamp. And then next to that is 830. So what does all this mean? Well, HH is probably the silversmith, and they have a mark. Every silversmith would have a mark back then. Here it appears to be an oil lamp or an Aladdin lamp, I'd like to call it. And next to it says 830. So what is 830? 830 is 83% silver content in this object, and we're going to confirm that when we use our test stone here. And then it was made of 17% other metals such as copper, etc. And that is actually 830, which sounds a little odd because most people are used to 0.925 or 92.5% silver. And that's because before 1927, there really wasn't that sterling silver standard. So before then, silversmiths would use different purities of silver. And so in this case, we know that this spoon is 1915, so it's obviously before 1927. And we also see the 830 mark there. So it's pretty high content silver. And what I want to do is I want to test it with our silver acid and then also our 18 karat acid to see if we get those blue cotton balls. First, as with every test, I'm going to wipe down my test stone, use a little bit of the acid neutralizer, Give it a good clean here. All right. So now again, we want to find an inconspicuous spot on this object. I don't want to ruin this spoon. I don't want to devalue it in any way. So what I'm going to do is very tip here. I'm going to do our scratch test. And again, we want a scratch test that's about 1 inch long and has a decent thickness to it. All right, I think we're pretty good there. Let's start with our silver acid here. Let's see what we get. And just as we suspected, there is some red in there, and 83% would be closer to, or the 80% silver, which is a brownish color, and it is a little brown. I'm going to wipe that off. I'm going to come to the other side of the stone, do another scratch test here so that we can use our 18 karat solution. See if we get those blue cotton balls. And here we go. Here's the 18 karat. Let's put a drop or two on here. And voila! Look at that. Nice and blue. See that? That's what you're looking for with the 18 karat if you want to know if it's silver. And of course, if you're using the 18 karat for gold, it's not going to dissolve it. So your scratch mark will not be dissolved with 18 karat if it's going to be 18 karat gold or higher.
Okay, so we're going to start with our little perfume bottle, our probably mid-1900s era perfume bottle, and we're going to see if this is silver. Definitely has the look to it, kind of has the shine, but sometimes things that look like silver can be tin. It can be a lot of different materials. So let's do our scratch test. Now, just for background purposes, informational, I did use the acid neutralizer already on the stone, on the testing stone, so don't have to do that again. Now, it's important when you use your testing stone, you want to make sure that you do about 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch of a test, and you want to really get pieces of that metal off onto the stone. Because if you scratch too lightly, it may show silver, but it could just be the very top layer, and you could get a false reading as far as the true silver content. Don't worry, this really does not make a noticeable difference on your objects. Now, if it's a really fine coin or something that can lose value for any slight blemish or imperfection, then you might not want to do it on a coin. But an item like this, if you take a look, I just scratched right here in the corner, and you can barely tell. So I'm going to do a little bit more here, just make sure that I have the deep layers of metal on this stone. And it's about 1 inch long. And first I'm going to use the silver acid. Now remember, I had mentioned before that the 18 karat gold acid, if it turns blue, you have silver. But the silver acid, based on the color, will tell you the purity. Whereas with the 18 karat gold acid, it'll just tell you if there's silver content in it. It won't really get as accurate telling you whether it's 99% or if it's more like sterling silver or just 800 silver. So let's put a little drop here. Let's see what happens. So it may be hard to see from this angle, but this is actually not silver. Now I will take my tissue here and I'll just dab a little bit of it off. You'll be able to see this is not red, this is not bright red, this isn't brown. It's just dissolved into absolutely nothing. So unfortunately, our perfume bottle here is not silver. It's probably maybe tin or some other non-precious metal. It is still nice though. Okay, so now we're going to try and test, and that is our little infant baby rattle with the little space for an engraving and custom engraving. Now again, the look of this and the way that it's oxidizing and kind of tarnishing gives me the impression that this is silver, possibly sterling silver. Now again, you can look for a mark on items that you think are silver. You can look for 0.925, which would mean that it's 92.5% silver, otherwise known as sterling silver. Sometimes it's just marked STER, abbreviated, or they'll write the entire name sterling out on the item. And it's generally pretty small, but please note that even if you do see a marking on a silver item or on an item that looks like it's silver, that does not necessarily mean it is silver. There are a lot of fakes and forgeries out there, which has been going on for thousands of years. People have been forging precious metals. And so the mark can be helpful, but it's definitely not definitive. The acid test is your most definitive, reliable source. Now, as I mentioned in the first item that we did, I already used the acid neutralizer on the test stone. So I'm going to put that over here to the side, and we're going to do our little scratch test. A little bit more here. Make sure we have about a 1-inch line, pretty thick, so that we can get a good test. Okay, and so as I mentioned before, we have our silver acid and we have our 18 karat gold acid, which is kind of a secondary source or method for determining whether it's silver. If you use the silver acid, it's going to turn different colors based on the purity. Again, bright red for 0.999, darker red for sterling or 92.5. And as you get into the 800 silver, it's going to start to look a little bit brown, and then green for 50% silver. The 18 karat gold acid test is if it turns blue. So let's try our silver acid on the baby rattle. And get a closer shot here. Try to get some light. It is turning a kind of a darker red. So I'm going to dab it with the napkin, and that is sterling silver. But just as a backup, let's use some of the 18 karat gold. And look at that nice blue. See that? The kind of lightish blue. That is your test using the 18 karat gold acid for silver. So this is definitely silver. And there you go.
I want to show all of you guys one last object, and I'm not going to do a silver test on this just because it's an incredibly rare piece, and I don't want to scratch any of it. It's already been through so much in its 212-year history. But this is a Hebrew Torah reader that I picked up in Italy at a antiques market, and it's just absolutely exquisite. It's so beautiful. It's very ornate, as you can see. At the very top of this Torah reader, you have a ring here. It would hold like a leather rope as kind of a necklace around the rabbi's neck so that he could have easy access to using this when he opened the Torah. See, there's an eagle here, and this is all silver. This is all silver. In the center right here of the Star of David, you can see this is a red coral. Then as you go down, you can look at this silver wrapping along up to the pointer, and then very end here, you can see this hand with what I believe is either a black quartz. I'd like to believe it's a diamond, but I'm not too sure. I haven't had any confirmation yet. Could be some other gemstone. But if you take a look right here, you'll see right here, you can see the silversmith's markings, and then 1812 is stamped right at the bottom here, and then you have some other markings on the left and the right from the silversmith. also dealing with the purity of silver. But 1812, and this is just an exquisite piece of history and the incredible talent of the silversmith who made this.